Shabbat Shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Chayye Sarah. Literally, Chayye Sarah means the life of Sarah, but that's a euphemism. The Parsha begins with the death of Sarah and the burial of Sarah by her husband Abraham in the cave of Machpelah. Machpelah, the field of Ephron the Hittite, is in Hebron, which is where Sarah died. At the end of last week's Parsha, Abraham returns with his young men from the binding of Isaac, and Isaac is not with him. Abraham returns to Beersheba, and Sarah is not there. Last week's episode of the Akedah, the pinnacle of Abraham's career, and Abraham appears to lose everything. The company of his wife, of his son Isaac, his last remaining son after he sent away Ishmael, his firstborn. And Abraham seems to lose God also, because God no longer speaks to Abraham. At the end of this week's Parsha, we have the death and the burial of Abraham. And Abraham is buried in the cave of Machpelah next to his wife Sarah. And I'm struck by the casualness with which the Torah mentions who it was who buried Abraham. The Torah says, and Isaac and Ishmael came to bury their father in the cave of Machpelah. Isaac and Ishmael, his two sons, who, as far as we know, have seen neither each other nor their father since that day when Abraham took Isaac up on Mount Moriah. And I wonder, how is it that Isaac knew that his father died? And more, how is it that Ishmael knew? Well, there are a couple of possibilities, and the Torah and the Midrash are silent. One possibility is that they continued to keep in touch. And for some reason, those stories never made it into the Torah, so that when it was Abraham's time to be gathered into his people, he had a relationship with Yitzchak and with Ishmael. Another possibility is that he had no relationship with them, but they somehow kept apprised of what happened with their father. And people knew that Isaac and Ishmael were the sons of Abraham, so that when the time came, they were informed. But there they were, Ishmael and Isaac, the two rivals for Abraham's blessing, together burying their father. It is as if at the time that they heard of Abraham's death, they said to themselves, perhaps said to each other, "Look, it doesn't matter anymore. That you were banished from our home, Ishmael, doesn't matter. That Abba tried to do this terrible thing to me on the mountain, doesn't matter," Isaac says. Now, Abba is gone, and we have to reconcile. And if that's the case, there is hope and there is sadness. There is hope that even in the worst conditions of family, there can be reconciliation and forgiveness and healing. And it's possible to get beyond the wounds of our childhood. But there's sadness that it took the death of Abraham for both Isaac and Ishmael to realize that there are bigger things than the events of our lives. There are our parents, for better, for worse, for good, for evil. Our parents always do the best that they can for us. And therefore, does anything else really matter? And therefore, do we need to wait till we meet our siblings at the funeral of our parents before we reconcile and live as best a family life as we can? May there not be that sadness of living without our family members that Yitzchak and Ishmael had. And may we not wait until the funeral like they did in order to have the love of our siblings. Shabbat Shalom, and may you have a Zis and Shabbos.